Good evening. We are live. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined tonight by my two very special co-hosts, Miss G from Los Angeles County, California. Miss G, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
And we also have Mr. Y from the state of Maine. Mr. Darren Y, how are you?
I'm doing great now that I see this nice lady above my head.
Very good.
Around again.
And we have a very special guest tonight, Miss Candy Stills. Candy, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Where are you from?
I'm from Dodge City, Kansas.
Okay. Dodge City, Kansas. What's that near?
Wichita's about the closest place that's 3 hours away.
Okay. Wichita, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they have CPS there, huh?
Yeah.
So what's going on with you and CPS?
I have 3 children, all under the age of 5. I was working when I only had my oldest, and I got told that I needed to get there, and if I got there, that I could get my daughter. I showed up. I almost lost my job. I got told it doesn't matter if you're here or not. You're not getting your kid. You're losing her. I did everything that I was supposed to, and that was back in December of 2019. Then COVID hit. I ended up pregnant by their dad again. Had a second daughter. During that process, there was COVID, so everything was shut down. When court reopened about a year later almost, I got told that it was my fault that my daughter has been out of my care and everything was invalid for me to be doing when I completed everything before COVID hit. I really feel like I was just jumping through hoops, and even more so now when my second daughter was about 7 months old.
Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry, but you got called to get the kids. Like, what happened? And
I was at work and they were at home, and their grandpa was went there. They came in the house and said she was developmentally delayed just by stepping in and looking at her. Recently, they said that they couldn't tell if she was developmentally delayed.
Right, but back then when they came in the house, they said that she was that. That was your first time that you've had CPS with them?
Yes.
So they just showed up at your grandfather's.
They showed up at my house. My children's grandfather's house was there. Mm-hmm. He set her down so he could open the door in her pack and play. She had just been bathed, so, you can't take a shower with clothes on, I'm sorry, or a bath and clean yourself. And they said, oh, well, she's not dressed. She just got out of a bath. She's not developmentally at the right age. We're taking her. I got the call saying I needed to show up there, so I told my job I'm leaving. If it comes to my job or my child's going to come first. Mm-hmm. I left immediately, got down there. They had already taken her. They did not give me time to a 10-minute drive maybe to go and see what was going on. They told me, we're taking her. It doesn't matter what you have to say. You can go to court. And basically the same thing happened with my second daughter. And then my youngest child that I had a year ago, they took him 2 weeks after saying multiple different things that made no sense to me, that my child was born with THC, I wasn't. Then it was the opposite way, then no one, and then they finally said, we're taking him because we have his sisters.
Were all the children with THC or just your son?
So supposedly it was just my son.
Okay.
How long ago was that?
He's 17 months now. So February of 2022.
When's your next court date? And what kind of case?
I just had court last week. I've been going through everything that I was on a case plan. I had a worker that got caught putting drugs outside of my apartment.
Oh.
And nothing happened. Did
you call the cops on a caseworker putting drugs outside your house?
No, because that causes an issue for me due to the placement.
Or it causes issue for you if the police come and find the drugs on you too.
Oh, well, that's where the issue lies, because the placement is an officer that's sitting there trying to do everything to turn me against them, saying I have nothing, I don't care for them. And they sit there screaming and crying, heartbroken, telling me that if I say anything else about the placement or my concerns on anything, that I risk going to jail because I'm harassing the placement.
Are all of the children together?
My two oldest are, and my youngest isn't. And I have no clue where my youngest is at, and this is about the third or fourth time that the placement for him has completely disappeared. No contact with the judge, the workers, no one.
Candy, when they plant drugs in your home, how did
It was outside my apartment.
Outside your apartment? Is there like cameras outside, like maybe across the way?
There was a maintenance person that lives here, and then my neighbor's camera that's outside on her door, and it's facing right towards me because I live in a duplex.
And that neighbor's camera that's facing you, does it reveal that they
They refused to let me put any evidence, anything that I have proof on.
Okay, did you see actually the social worker in the camera?
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. I mean, to me, that's good. That's great evidence right there. That's like really great evidence right there. If you show the social worker planting drugs outside your apartment or housing, whatever, I mean, that speaks huge to the courts, right? So why wouldn't your attorney submit that as evidence into court? What was his logic?
I honestly could not tell you. I went through two attorneys. When it was just my oldest with the placement that's an officer, she had sent me a picture of my daughter with her in her care with an open alcoholic container less than an arm reach away. I sent that into the judge, and they said, we're terminating your rights right here and now because you're an unfit mother. Wow. I sat there and I said, Your Honor, I'm sorry, with all due respect. I said, that's not me. I said, that is in placement care. Oh, it's okay. It's not a problem.
Okay, so the judge sees only, obviously, like we all know this, the judge only sees one-sided, which is the social worker. They always take the social workers, it's hearsay when it comes to them. it's not hearsay when it comes to them, but when it comes to us humans, regular people, it's hearsay. So again, did your attorney speak up in court and say, "Hey, Your Honor," or whatever he wants to call them, evidence? There's evidence. We have evidence.
Yeah, they said
social worker for drugs outside the unit.
Yeah.
My client. I mean, that absolutely should say something.
They don't. It should. The last judge I had told me that he used to be a police officer for 20 plus years, and he said on record that he's going to back another officer up, whether they're right or wrong, no matter what.
Mr. Davis, if you catch a caseworker planting drugs outside of your house, from your side as the attorney, what's your advice, or what do you say can be done about that?
First of all, I would report it to the police. I would report it to the county sheriffs. I would report it to the state police. I would file a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. I'd also file a complaint with the Department of Justice, Criminal and Civil Rights Division. And I would also instruct my attorney to take it and make a motion to get the social worker and or the entire organization disqualified from the case.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I did get the one from where I live in Dodge out finally, just to have the same situation from Liberal, Kansas. And I don't know who the woman was that I dealt with or what her title was, but she told me that I was being railroaded and that if they would have had my case, this would have been done and over with, and I would have had my oldest back, and none of this would have continued on, because she said that the placement that has my two daughters, my oldest kids, is controlling, manipulative, and has too much control over the whole situation, because she threw a fit placement that had my two oldest, threw a fit out of 40 cases. Everyone's paperwork was there for the judges for every case. And then when it came to my case, the last case, everything was wiped out of the court system and everything else.
Go figure.
What do you mean it was wiped out of the court
Like
system?
there was no trace of anything, that there was just 20, 30 minutes before my case started, my court case started. And it was actually to be going into my favor when that was that happened.
How often do you guys? Oh, sorry, Mr. Davis. Go ahead. Sorry,
ma'am. Do you have a lawyer?
I just got appointed my third attorney because my last two refused to do anything. My first one got me in so much trouble for doing what I was told, telling me to contact the KBI because of something and turning the placement in. I did that. I found out she's under investigation with several different divisions, and that got me in trouble and risking going to jail because that was harassing her. My last attorney would sit there and tell the judge the complete opposite from what I told her, and then he'd ask me, and then he got mad at me because he thought I was telling my attorney to lie when I was telling him the truth.
Were you speaking to your attorney in front of the judge?
I spoke to her in front of the judge, like privately, and she still sat there telling him the complete opposite from what I said.
How many times do you... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. G.
How old are your kids, you said?
I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 17-month-old. My 2-year-old will be 3 in October.
So all your kids are under 7 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And any child under 7 years old, you know that the first thing that the social workers think of is adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And they always place them in an adoptive home. From
Mm-hmm.
what you gather on your case, that's what they're
That's
concluding.
what they're trying to do, correct? The very first judge I had retired, and he stated because I got my oldest back before they took my second child and my oldest back into custody, saying I didn't care about them. I didn't have nothing for them. I was feeding them and letting them eat on their own for being at that young age. They need to learn how to start feeding themselves. They're not going to be perfect and not have a mess all over themselves like adults are.
Right.
And I had someone the police come to my house with CPS telling me that I was abusing my kids and that they looked disgusting because they were eating a pudding cup after they ate their dinner and they hadn't had a bath yet.
Um,
The placement that has my girls does not like me and is extremely good friends with their father's mother and stepfather. And the stepfather has been stalking and harassing me. I have pictures, videos of it. And he's a private investigator. And that's not a problem. That's not an issue. That's not harassment or anything. The maternal grandmother that's married to the stepdad is best friends with the county attorney and the head of the CPS, and they tell me that's not a conflict of interest. And she goes to court saying she doesn't deserve her kids, telling the judge about that to me.
I wanna give you a bit of information that might help you, because it seems to me, from based on what I am hearing, honestly, it seems like you have an amazing case, especially with the evidence that you have. I just hope to God that you're smart enough to keep that evidence secure, so that way they don't come after you. Okay.
Yeah.
And believe me, they will send people to steal those evidence.
I have it going on constantly.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some information. You don't need to write it down because you can watch the
Mm-hmm.
show later on,
Yeah.
and get the information. I've been doing my own research for a while, and I told you guys before on several occasions about momentum funding. They fund for legal cases. However, momentum funding doesn't fund all the states. Apparently, for some reason, I got a hold of Oasis funding. Oasis funding can fund a case from $500 up to $100,000. Okay. All they need is the attorney to give them the go,
Mm-hmm.
the green light, and show them an agreement. And then what they do is they fund the case for you. Now, that could be a civil case, that could be a malpractice case, that could be child abuse case, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And they do fund a lot of states. And I know your state for sure, 100%, because I wrote down all the states that they fund. Yours was one of them. So
Okay.
the number, I'm going to tell it right now, it's
Mhm.
888 597 1673. Again, the number is 888-597-1673. I am in contact with them. I've made friends, a couple of people
Mhm.
there. I have their cell numbers. Call them, whoever's listening. Talk to them, or you can call me or call the office, whichever
Okay.
is whatever, and ask for me. And just, if you need more information, I'll be happy to give you a name of a person to contact specifically. And um, and I believe that you need at least a consultation with Attorney Davis, one-on-one, so he can at least look at the evidence that you have. And you can go online and Calendly. You can book an appointment. I'd be happy to text you a link to that. You can book
Okay.
an appointment with him depending on how many minutes you would like to have with him.
Mhm.
And then he can look at the evidence and see if you have a case or not. At least show him the video or show him something that can help him decide whether or not he wants to take the case. But meanwhile, don't forget to call Oasis tomorrow, and let them know that Georgette Truan from the Law Office of Vincent Davis referred you there.
Okay.
And you can give them my direct number, which is right there under my name.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not under my name. Yes, there it is. So it's 626-631-8901.
Okay.
Okay.
Candy, was there any questions you wanted to ask me before?
Yes, there is. I asked my attorneys and stuff because when I picked up my 2-year-old daughter, I went to change her and there was nothing but blood, and I'm told that that's not a concern and I need to not worry about it.
That is a major concern.
From the judge, the CPS workers, all of them. Also, go ahead.
In those complaints that I told you to make, I definitely put that in there. Do you have a smartphone where I hope you took pictures?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Because I'm no doctor, but blood anytime is a serious warning sign of something.
Well, prior to that, before Cinco de Mayo in 2021, my oldest ran into an unsecure, no adults from what I'm gathering, because she ran into a lit barbecue, and from her fingertips to her elbow, she had 3rd-degree burns. And that wasn't an issue either.
But if it would have been an issue if she was in your custody and that happens to her. Yeah. See, this is really the part that disgusts me about our government, about this entity. They're private owned companies working through the government, meaning they're contracted employees through the state. And the state they're not asking the right questions to these people. So what they're doing is they're literally giving them the power to control the parent, to control the whole story, outline. It's like a movie to them. They write a script that doesn't belong to you. It belongs to somebody else. But somehow all the scripts fit the same. It's the same story, just different people, different states, different counties, different social workers. But again, you need to get on this immediately. And I'm saying immediately.
Yeah.
Because you don't have time to waste, because they're already 400 steps ahead of you. Please text me after the show. I'll send you the link. Make a consultation appointment with Davis, and let me know when the consultation appointment is, and I'll be happy to, make sure I touch base with Attorney Davis right before your appointment to make sure that he doesn't have an emergency hearing or what have you, so I can ensure you having that conversation with him. Okay. And then right now, you literally have no time to waste. I swear, you literally have no time.
Yeah, I know. I have a cousin that's sitting there lying, saying I'm on every single drug in the world. And then it's not because of that. It's because supposedly I'm a lesbian and all sorts of beyond pettiness, because she thinks that she's going to make money off of him. And her recent new husband is got involved and is wanting to get a divorce because she jumped out of a moving car on a highway in Texas.
Wow. I understand rumors are bad. I get that, but again, the state always goes by hearsay when it comes to the social worker. When it comes to anybody against the mother, anyone against the mother, literally will get praised, will be put on a pedestal. But if they're for you, if they're like saying you're a great mom, then guess what? They're not going to use them. They're going to put them aside and use somebody else. So that's how the system operates. That's why I told you a lot of people think they can go against them. And I want to also bring awareness about something that I learned most recent. Please don't think the feds are after you. I'm begging you, please don't think that. It's the social workers trying to make you look
I
crazy.
know that it's the social workers, but it's also the placement of my 2 oldest children.
What do you mean the placement? You're talking about the foster parents?
The foster parent, yeah, because she is a law enforcement.
Oh, of course, absolutely. But I understand where you're coming from with this. However, the ball falls on the social workers. They send random people dressed like, with suits, or random people taking a video of you and they're wearing like funky glasses, or they're following you in the market and they're like recording you.
I've got all of that.
Okay, see? Okay, so all these tactics they're using to make you look crazy. So that way you can go and say, oh my God, I can't sleep. Somebody's watching me, blah, blah, blah. And you look hysterical and you look crazy. And that's all they want. So mission accomplished. Yeah. They did a great job because parents are not aware of their tactics. So the best thing you need to know, the best thing you need to do is get rest, sleep. For God's sakes, take a shower, right? Get up, dress up, and move forward to getting your children back. Because I see a lot of people on social media, saying all kinds of crap, sharing their stories, but you don't know who you're sharing your stories with.
Yeah.
You could be sharing your story with a social worker. You can be sharing your story with a scumbag from hell. You could be literally talking to the wrong person that will not help you. Instead of you moving forward to a productive, much more productive, right, way, you're actually hindering your children and you're hindering yourself talking to some idiots, right, that don't deserve speaking about anything because they themselves don't have their kids. So move forward, as I said, and please move on quickly, because before you know it, they're going to remove your reunification services or terminate it if you have it. Then they're going to move forward to TPR, termination of parental rights. Now, once your rights are terminated, if you have your mother alive or your dad or your aunt, uncle, whatever, they also lose those rights to the children, right? So we need to make sure that you get help before the termination of parental rights, before, removing your reunification services, because what they do is they're going to start saying there's no visits today.
I haven't had any visits.
Okay, but if you had visit, they would say there is no visits today, or the foster parents is going to make an excuse. I can't do visits twice a week. It's too long of a drive for me, or whatever the case may be. Meantime, they're doing this to deliberately brainwash your children to think that you don't want to see them. Then the children become traumatized. Then they're going to have, PTSD. Then they're going to say it's the mother's fault. When in fact, the children are suffering because they're away from the only thing that they know from birth, which is the mom.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they keep you captive. And that's when parents, especially mothers, and I know that for a fact, mothers have extreme bond with their children. So with that bond, if that bond is broken, the mother's heart is literally disconnected from her body. She doesn't get it back until her children is in her arms again. So with that being said, nothing against dads. Okay, dads are heroes of the family. Not every dad deserves to be called a dad, but fathers, anybody can be a father, but not everybody that can be a dad. However, with that being said, please move forward to getting your children back. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I cannot express enough to you how much that is important, because I have gotten calls recently and text messages recently from people saying, Ms. G, I lost my rights to my children. I should have talked to Mr. Davis. I have people saying, well, I made an appointment with Mr. Davis, but he hasn't called me. But again, people text me and let me know when the appointment was made. And I'll be happy to speak with Attorney Davis, because sometimes he gets emergency hearings. And I know this for a fact, because I take him to court. I know. Sometimes, most times, actually, not even sometimes, he has to cover for another attorney. So
Yeah.
if you have an appointment that day and he has to be in court, and I apologize, but please understand, he's only one guy,
Yeah.
and he's not 20 people, okay? He's only one
No, I
person.
understand that.
So just contact me, or text me. You don't even have to call me. Just text me
Mhm.
your name, phone number. Your name and the time of the appointment, and let me know.
Okay.
If everything is okay, or if you spoke to Attorney Davis or not, and then
Mhm.
if not, then I'll be happy to reschedule it for you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I'm done.
Alrighty.
I'm sorry I took over. I didn't mean to.
Aaron, for this guest, before we move to the next one, did you have any questions or comments that you wanted to say to
No, I
Candy?
just wish her the best of luck, and hopefully that she can overcome these people from Shanghai and her like this, and just stay strong. Don't let them get at you. Keep the course, like Miss G says. Focus on the prize, and that prize is your children.
That's
don't let
what
all
I'm
the other
doing.
shenanigans get in your way. Just gun for that kid and do what you got to do to get them children's home.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Candy, you take care and keep in contact with us. Let us know what's going on, okay?
Okay. I will. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. All right. So we have another guest tonight.
Hey.
Huh?
Hey, how many times do you guys hear from these caseworkers, because you guys are right in the thick of this, they say, oh, well, if you would have done this, you would have gotten your child back. Like, is that...
That's 100% of the time.
Right, and there's no guarantees. They're just saying that to make you be guilt about yourself, right? Or to say whatever. I mean, because you hear a lot of this, like, oh, if I would have done this. No, there's no guarantees. Like there's no... And I was just curious how often you heard that. And I'm sure it's probably, like Miss G said, it's probably in every time.
Yep.
100% of the time.
All right, we're going to start with our next guest. Our next guest is Miss Tina Smith. Good evening, Miss Smith. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. So where are you coming to us from?
Well, I live in Lake Mills, Iowa, but I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota originally.
Where's your CPS issue going on?
Well, it's not mine. It's my, they're my cousin's kids. And that was in Albert Lee, Minnesota. But the girls were adopted, and they are now in Missouri, and they are back in the system.
What's going on? Tell me about it.
Okay, well, they were adopted 7 years ago. They shouldn't have been. They were with my parents. They were safe. They went to school. They did all the things. I have a big family that would have took them if my parents ain't, they were adopted. I think the CPS lady knew the lady that adopted them. I know for a fact they were taken at least twice from this lady when they were adopted. The house burnt down. They dipped out to Missouri. She put my 3 older cousins, I don't know, a hospital or something because they weren't getting along supposedly. And then my niece the youngest one was beaten. She was choked and lifted up by her adopted father. He has 12 charges and the mother has 2. And none of the kids are together, and I'm told I'm not family no more, and that I have no rights. And so they are there now. I know the father goes to court here on the 5th of September. I have talked to the prosecutor and gave them more info because they didn't even know that there was 3 other children. So I'm hoping that maybe does something.
Might. Now, originally, what was your relationship to the children?
They're my second cousins.
Okay. And since the parental rights were terminated, they're taking the position that you're no longer related.
Yep.
I don't know about Minnesota, but California recognizes And I don't think it's official, actually, but CPS in a lot of cases will recognize you if you're the bio family, right? I don't know if it's the same in Minnesota.
Well, see, I don't know because they're in Missouri now.
Is the case still in Minnesota or in Missouri now?
No, they were adopted and they were taken over lines and they were put in like homes in Missouri. And then
You said homes as in plural?
Yeah, none of them are together.
How many of them are there?
There's 4 of them. I don't know what was going on. To be honest, I think she just adopted kids and used them for. I got a checklist my niece had to do every day. They're slaves or making money off them. I mean, I got papers that said she had 10 children in a 2-bedroom house, but none of them slept on the floor. How do you even have 10 children in a 2-bedroom house is my question.
That'd be pretty tight.
Yeah.
Pretty tight.
So they're somewhere in Missouri, whether they're safe or not. I mean, I got articles that in the last couple of years, like 1,000 children from CPS went missing.
You have an article like that?
Oh yeah.
Would you send it to me?
Too. I have it too.
Send me the link. I'd like to read that.
Yeah.
They also found over 1,600 children recently, in one of those containers.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was terrible.
And we're talking about children from age 0 and up.
Were they dead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have the link to that too. They're finding, ever since the Sound of Freedom, everybody's been coming out. Even actors now are exposing Hollywood, sex trafficking children, exposing the government, exposing. It's a lot of exposure going on right now. Where everything was kept in the hush hush. Now everything is in the open, and thank God this is happening because children are being looked at now differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important to, at least to me, and I'm sure to many of us. And the main focus is the children, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're using the children as tools. And I used to fight for parents' rights. Now I'm like switching to more children rights.
Yeah, well, it should be that.
Because parents are old enough to know what they're doing, and
they know nothing.
I'm getting tired of parents, always blaming others for what happened to them, rather than get the help that they need from the right people. So I'm getting tired of that. So I started focusing more on the children. So I'm going to do everything I can for the children to be reunited with their parents. And, I'm trying to look for fundings. I'm trying to look for agencies that can help you with retainers. Because I was speaking to somebody the other day and they said that Davis should travel to the United States pro bono, helping, because he's such a millionaire of a man. Shed, if he's a millionaire, then I need a raise, because it's crazy. It's insane with how people think, but yet they, it's crazy. It's really crazy. Their mental state is so weird. I can't relate to that. I can't function around them like that, because at the end of the day, Attorney Davis will have to fund the case. He can't just take a case on saying, oh yeah, you're right, Tina, you have a winning case. I'm going to take your civil lawsuit. I'm going to fund it from my own pocket, for 12 months, 22 months, 23 months, whatever the case may be. And then Tina's not going to win at the end because Mr. Davis was just relying on Tina's word. But that's not how things work. He has to review your case. And of course, his time as an attorney, right? All that comes into place. We don't work for free. No one works for free. Everyone has to make a living, right? So when people say they can do it, but they think that Davis should take on 3 cases a year, well, I have news to tell all of you guys. Davis has more than 1 case pro bono. We're talking about 30 cases. He took on more pro bono cases more than any attorney in the United States of America. Therefore, for somebody to have the audacity to say, Davis is rich and he can, he can do this, he can do that, and how dare he not take my case? My case is a closed, shut case. That's what you think. Your case is not a closed, shut case, right? No one knows what their case is because you're going based on your here. Davis doesn't go based on what you have up here. He goes based on what he sees and what strategy can he use to overturn it. So therefore, think wisely. Don't just take advice from stupid people. Go to the source himself and consult with him. He has a link that's available for everyone to consult with. Okay? You have availability to me via text, via email, via, call. Leave me a message. This is my work number. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me. So please, again, let's work harder on getting the children back rather than work harder and gossiping and talking about the damn case with everyone else that doesn't know what to do, but will make you think they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's important for us to understand that. That's not going to help you get your child back or your children back. Right. You being as a relative, as a family member, you should have rights to your nieces or nephews first. That is the law. So they break the law because you're naive to what the law is. Get it now? So please, again, consult with Davis. Consult with him. One-on-one. Okay?
Tina, you don't know where the case is, right?
It's in Howell County, Missouri.
Have you or any of the other blood relatives tried to do anything with respect to what they call intervening in that case?
Well, I've talked to like the social worker down there a little bit. She won't tell me much. We did happen to go to one court and they did let us in, but I mistakenly brought a few too many family members and they can't not all talk at once. So we were pretty much told to leave the courtroom, but that we could try to get them back, but we didn't do what we should have done when they were in Missouri. So pretty much good luck is what I was told.
You got to get a lawyer because you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. One of the things that you could do is try to move to set aside the adoption based upon some type of fraud by these adoptive parents. Obviously, they were doing something wrong. They're in jail now, being prosecuted for crimes. But I would talk to an attorney about making a motion to set aside the adoption. Mm-hmm. I would bet if the case were in California, you might have some small, albeit probability, to make that happen. It seems like maybe a year ago, I forget how long, we had a guest on this show whose rights were terminated, a mother, rights were terminated. 5 years goes by. The kid's adopted, I guess, by somebody else. She gets the kid back and gets her rights reinstated. Mm. And when I tell that story to people, they don't believe it. But I personally know that it's true. You know how I know? The mother originally called me to help her in San Diego. And I was having my doubts about what she was telling me. And I decided not to take on the case. She asked me before she let me go, she says, hey, can you refer me to somebody else? So there was another attorney who I know. I know him very well. And I referred the case to him. I spoke to him throughout the process. This lady got her rights reinstated and got custody of the child. Mm-hmm. It is true. And by the way, that's not the only time I've heard or seen that happen. It's a rare occasion, but it happens. And this might be one of those situations that you're involved in where these people were abusing the kids and now they're in jail, that it would be appropriate for some judge to say, hey, we're going to set aside that adoption. And boom, once it's set aside, all you guys are now relatives again. all you guys will have preference with respect to getting the children placed back with you. One of the reasons why the county may not want to do that is because it opens up the door to them being sued. You see, if the biorelatives get the kids back, they're going to go after the county and after the social worker. But if CPS is allowed to keep the children, and claim that the bios are no longer related, they can basically control the scenario by placing the children with someone who they know will never sue them.
Right.
Never sue them. I don't know how true this is, but I'll relate this story. I was representing someone in accounting in California, and this person had gotten information from the current foster parent that several years before this, that foster parent was paid off by the county to allegedly suppress evidence that was going to be used against the county in a lawsuit. So when you turn on the TV, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, that news station, I forget what it's called, Newsmax.
Hmm.
Do you ever hear about corruption?
All the time?
All the time. So it would be foolish, I think, for us to think that corruption isn't happening in this particular system. That's secret. It's almost like a star chamber. No one knows what's going on, right? And when nobody knows what's going on and there's no checks and balances, what happens? Your government goes south on you. That's why when the founders formed our government, it was supposed to be checks and balances on everything. But for the purpose of protecting children, so to speak, and I'm not sure that's a really good rationale, we've made CPS courts private and secret. Private and secret. So you got people, if you ask the guy across the street from you who knows nothing about CPS, what does he know about it? He'll either tell you, I don't know anything about it, or that's a court full of bad people, child abusers, drug addicts, people who sexually abuse kids. Now, is that true in some cases? Yeah, it's true. Is it true in most of the cases? Not in the cases I've been involved with over the past 30 plus years. So you never know. And, you can always say that we're doing this to protect children. Sometimes I doubt that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I doubt that.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because I don't know who's protecting my nieces, because since they took them away for, petty things and from my parents and put them in this home where, like, Lord knows what's happened. I got reports that the house was so disgusting. The cop that went in there had a headache for 2 days. But they somehow
he must have came from his own place. Yeah. He must have had a headache from his own place.
So who's really getting punished, right? The real one that's being punished here is the child who's completely innocent, that hasn't done a dang thing to anybody.
Right.
Yep.
And also, I found out that from a judge, actually, that they cannot just remove your child or children because you have a dirty house or you have laundry in the laundry basket. However, they make such a hype of a story and there is no evidence, you know what I mean? And having a dirty house is not abuse. Just all they have to do is tell the parent to clean it up or, something.
No, the dirty house was the adopted, where they got adopted. And I guess it was an ongoing thing is what the report says. But obviously I wasn't there. So.
Right. But again, these children should have been placed with you.
Yeah, they should have been with some family. I have a big family. My uncle wrote letters to the judge. before they got taken, and they so how I feel the judge thinks that like my entire family's not able to take care of a child. Like, I mean, I got cousins in college, I got cops. I mean, to take them away from our entire family and give them to people, I mean, that's how I feel the judge felt. Like, none of your entire families can, take care of children. So we're going to give them to this lady, and now look it.
And Mr. Davis just said that the reason for that is because they know that some random person isn't going to sue CPS. They're going to, they know if you give that child to someone in that family, then there's a chance that number one, your child's going to reunite with the family, go back to the parents or whatever. And number two, like Mr. Davis says, they're going to sue, and they don't want this. And it's really a stinky situation to be, but it's the truth.
Tina, did you have any questions for me this evening?
No, but then I'll probably be talking to you more because I've done some research on trying to find a lawyer. I called, I don't know how many lawyers in Missouri, and there's a conflict of interest from everybody.
The conflict of interest is because they're afraid to go against the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
that's the conflict of interest. Is not the conflict of interest is that they're cowards. They don't have huevos to fight the state.
Well, then they're no help to me anyway. So
yeah, well, that's why I said, if you heard earlier, call Oasis funding, please, but don't call them before you see if Mr. Davis is going to be willing to take your case and how much he is willing to, how much your case is going to cost. Again, click the link, Calendly link, which is posted right there in the comments, and then make your appointment with Davis. But please don't expect him to understand everything in the first 15 minutes of your story, and make sure that he has, you book the appointment appropriately, knowing how big your story is or what, what questions, how many, questions you have for him and what.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Understood.
Good.
I want to thank you for calling in and sharing your story. Coming to the end of the evening, I'm going to have Grace contact you about possibly being a guest again, and also being a captain in your state. Now, I realize you're not in Minnesota anymore, but you are where now?
I live in Lake Mills, Iowa. I'm like 20 minutes from Albert Lea.
Okay. So maybe we can do Iowa or maybe even Minnesota, but we're trying to change some laws in the United States and in each state. Maybe you can help us do that, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, Tina, good night.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night, and thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, that comes to the end of the show. Ms. G, ladies first, any last comments or questions for me?
For you, oh my gosh, hold on. There is a question that I wanted to ask you. Can someone, so if someone lives in California, they move to California and their case is in, she said her case is in Arizona. No, wait, sorry, I apologize. Her case is in Texas, I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom lives in Arizona. And she said she lives in California now, Santa Monica to be exact, with her brother. The social worker called her from Texas, but she recorded the social worker who's from Texas in the conversation is recorded. So, but her brother told her is that California is a two-party state, meaning
For
the
recording,
social worker has to approve it. But she said in Texas is a one party. So the call is coming from Texas to California. I guess her question is, can it work because the call is from Texas?
Can what work?
The recording in California.
Who did the recording? And what state were they in?
She recorded the social worker.
What state were they in?
Texas.
The recording was done in Texas?
No, the recording was done in California. The social worker from Texas contacted her on her phone which she's within California with her brother.
Yeah, but in California, she committed a crime when she recorded the conversation.
Correct. But she said her case is in Texas and the social worker is in Texas. So does that still count as a crime? She's not a resident of California.
In my opinion, yes, I think it's still a crime. However, a very good argument can be made that it's not a crime, and she might be able to use that taped recording, but she needs to really talk to a lawyer in Texas about that, if that's where her case is.
She tried, and she said they don't want to. They just right now, attorneys are very hard to find that wants to actually deal with CPS right now. They don't even want to answer the question. So she called me and asked me today, and I told her I was going to bring it up to you tonight on the show. She's actually watching. That was her first time watching the show, by the way, today.
Okay. Understood. Mr.
So you don't have advice for her other than contact the Texas attorney, then knowing how that works in the California state? If she's not resident of California, but she's visiting her brother?
Okay. So we've been really focusing in the past 4 weeks about listening. I said that I believed it was a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to change my mind. And if she's going to use that tape in Texas, she should talk to a Texas attorney. I can't comment on Texas law. I'm not licensed to practice there. Now, can people hire me from Texas? Yes, but I have to get a special admission process to practice in the state of Texas. So I can't tell her what she can do in Texas, but I can tell her that what she did in California was a crime. And the fact, in my opinion, and I may be wrong, but the fact that somebody from Texas called into California doesn't make a difference. When the call left Texas and came into California, the call was in California, the lady was in California, and the illegal recording was done in California, or the secret recording was done in California. In my opinion, based upon what I know, that's how the analysis is done. The question becomes, will she be able to use that in Texas? Because nothing's happening in California. She doesn't have a case here. It only becomes relevant in Texas. And I guess you're telling me, or you told me earlier, that Texas is a one-party state.
That's what she said. I don't know if it is
Okay.
or isn't.
Let's just assume that it is. I don't know if it is or not, but let's assume as it is. Can't this, and it becomes this whole what they call choice of law argument. Sometimes in cases, choice of law, when you're applying it to certain issues, becomes extremely important. So the question becomes, in Texas, it would have been legal. In California, it was illegal. But does that make it admissible in Texas? I could see arguments being made either way. Okay, so that's all I can say. I can't tell her, hey, you're good, go ahead and bust the social worker in Texas. Because she could be setting herself up for a crime, a conviction, a criminal conviction, and a criminal fine, and 365 days in jail. That's why she needs to talk to the Texas attorney. You asked me what I thought it was here in California, and I said it's a crime. That's my opinion. Okay? Mr. Guai, moving on. Questions, comments, concerns this evening before we call it a day?
No, I think that I just kind of wanted to hit off what Miss G had said earlier, that I think that that's pretty cool that she's paying real close attention to these children now, because that's not what people are focusing on. I can only, every time I hear these stories, all I can imagine is these poor children crying for their mom, and they can't get their mom, and they've done nothing wrong, so this is a big thing, and that's really cool of her to change her focus, because she's right. all you hear is parents whining and complaining about why they didn't or they didn't do. And, we're not even hearing a lot of self acceptance to the fact that they might have errored a little bit, like we just hear why and what, but these poor children don't know what they're doing. And, what they're really the ones that are ultimately punished in this. And maybe if people started realizing this, maybe we'd start getting a little more support from the Congress and this, I know like we got to start really pushing on this. I mean, we're only 2-3 months away from an election time here. So we need to really start ramping up and getting our team captains together and, coming up with some sort of a concept. So I'm sure that you've got that one under Gates, but, like some things definitely need to change. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it with your, the Davis March to Washington, and if we can't, then we try again next time, but we don't stop this fight until all the kids come home.
How about this? I just thought of this from what you said. The Million Parent March on Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's just been made so.
That's quite a commitment.
It's worth it, right?
Quite a commitment. All right, folks, we're way past the time here. I want to thank both of you. Ms. G, thank you, and welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show. Mr. Y, thank you again.
Yes,
and
sir.
We'll see both of you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And hopefully we'll have more interesting guests. We'll leave that to our producer, Grace, who doesn't want to show her face on the live stream. Even when we're not live, she won't show us her face.
What do you think she looks like?
I don't know. I really don't.
I know how Grace looks like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Draw us a picture.
She's beautiful.
You've been to the Philippines? How do you see her?
I've seen a picture of her.
Oh, picture, okay.
She's beautiful. She really is beautiful. She's beautiful on the inside and the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, very good. Very good.
She is
beautiful.
You
know what's funny? Oh, wait, I got don't kill this yet, right? So my mother's become a big fan of this show now and everything, right? So and I'm going to have to tell you what she said to me. She said, boy, Mr. Davis looks so much better now than he did in his previous years. My mother thinks that you're much more attractive now than you have been in your entire life. And she's very happy. And yeah, I just had to embarrass her with that because I know that this phone's going to ring in about 2 seconds from her watching that. But those were the words out of her mouth. So you're doing good, Davis. You're doing well.
Well, what exactly did she mean? I don't know if that's a compliment or
no, it's a compliment. Because most people will say that women, like they age great all through their life, but men get better looking as they get older. I mean, I know that I did for a minute look better as I was older than I do now. This CPS thing is taking a run in my mug, but I got definitely better looking at this point now as I was older. She was just saying that you're very well put together. You're very whatever. I don't know. Maybe she was saying on you. I don't know. But I thought it was great. And I wanted to pass that along to you.
Well, I appreciate it. Tell your mom thank you very much.
I will do that.
One of the things that I'm doing differently now is less carbs, more protein, and walking.
Hear that, Mom? He's walking. I try to tell her all the time. She's got a heart problem, but she'll only walk like 5 steps. And I'm like, Mom, take 6, take 7, But she tries.
Got to talk to her doctor.
Yes, she does. Yes, sir. But see, Mom, people walk. You can do it too. I'm in so much trouble.
May I ask how old is Mom?
My mother is a young 75.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Is she there in Maine with you?
Yeah. So we flux between my mother-in-law and my mother. They live 2 miles apart from each other. So.
Wait, who lives 2 miles from each other?
My in-law mother and then my mother.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're right here in the middle of them.
All right.
God help me.
All right, we got a yawn from Miss G. It's time to go, folks. We'll see everyone tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, have a good evening and have a good day tomorrow. Good night.